Hey fan peeps, this is your podcast host Kunal here. I started this during the pandemic, and in this podcast I discuss my nerdy thoughts and hobbies with you, with the occasional special guest. From anime to Zeppelins, we talk about it all. Just a quick voiceover for you, it's important for the episode. My friend Elena is Bolivian, German, and Chilean, and my friend Sammie is half Korean, half Caucasian. We also talk about discussing the legend of Korra. We will do that all in a later episode. We just had so much fun talking about The Last Airbender that by the end of it we were all wiped, and we want to do it justice, so stay tuned. I'll keep you posted. Now back to the episode. Today I'm joined by two very good friends of mine, Elena.
Hi.
And then Sammie.
Hello.
That's right. I've known Elena since, I was trying to think about this yesterday, or even this morning. It was like 2013-ish.
Yes.
I think that's about
2013.
Right. So it's like a decade for us.
An actual
Holy
decade.
fuck.
Wow.
I didn't realize
Decade of
that.
friendship. How cool.
That's fun.
Nuts.
And the best part is about introvert friendships, it took us like 7 years to actually like really hang out and talk with each other.
Yeah, we were on the periphery. Like, we were like friends of friends, and then we hung out with mutual friends, and then the pandemic happened. And then, like, near the pandemic is when we started to hang out more.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic was like, fuck, we need to, like, video chat.
We need to talk to another human being.
And then you had life changes happen. I had life changes happen. So we're like, oh, shit. And then I think even that time you watched the show we're going to talk about today. And then I met Sammie when I was during the pandemic, actually. Like, don't worry, we were safe. It's all good. Just telling my viewers that now. So I don't get canceled and shit.
Don't get
it was
like
after
spitting on each other.
It was
and
2020.
each other's
It was
eyes.
2021. Yeah, we were just like licking each other's eyeballs.
Yeah.
Doing all that stuff.
It was definitely post.
You're a great licker. By the way.
Oh, hey. Yay. This is the first time I've heard that. Those specific words.
For me, at least.
Yeah, that was
I'm sorry.
no. That was right after so it was after quarantine.
Yeah.
We were all kind of starting, like, things were like, okay, we can start going back into the world.
I'll be masking. You're not masking.
Yeah, we're all not positive for COVID, so let's all hang.
I still have dodged that shit like a motherfucker.
Nice.
Like, I am getting it tomorrow after saying it today.
No,
I do not wish that upon you.
Shield.
No.
Activate shield now. Well, like, I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous. I've either tested. It's either been a false negative. It's been a false negative, or I've just been severely asymptomatic because I've dodged it. I've been fucking Neo from the Matrix of this shit.
That's
dodging
awesome.
Shit. I mean, you say that, but I'm just like, it's fucking coming.
It's around the corner. You never know.
I mean, there was a wave that just happened, and I was like, oh fuck, I should dodge. I need to run.
I need to stay inside.
I need to go. And yeah, I've been getting supremely lucky with that because I've had a lot of close calls, and I don't know. It's like having unprotected sex in the 80s. Like, you don't know. You don't
want to do that. No, man. Yeah,
it's like,
I think
no one knows what's going on. We're just playing Russian roulette at this point.
especially with all the calls and COVID. Yeah, we got it earlier this year in April.
Oh shit! I'm
and
sorry.
I had an out-of-body experience with my fever.
Oh yeah,
and it was bonkers.
Were you like past 103?
Well, I don't remember. What was it at, Sammie?
you were right on that line. You're a 102.5 when I went to go, we took your temperature, it was 102.5, and I left immediately to go pick you up some NyQuil and Tylenol. Because I was like, okay, well, the internet says 103 is a good time to go to the emergency room. So
that's why I was.
Let's take care of your fever now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I fried a couple brain cells during that fever, and it was just absolutely wild. I think I was an aunt. I was like, it was a very, very interesting experience. I definitely came to some really cool conclusions, which was really neat.
You know, sometimes like the best time I have reflections is like when I'm sick.
Yeah.
That is actually very true.
It was really cool because
Yeah.
like my mind was just like, we are going all in right now.
We had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Literally.
Nothing else to do but to melt.
Do you remember any of your conclusions?
Ugh, not really. That's the bummer part about it. What happened when I was sick? Because it's like, I remember feeling like, wow, I have never thought about that before.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, that was so cool. And I have no recollection of what it was I was actually thinking about.
That's so fun.
I'm speaking of out of body experiences and stuff that helps us grow. I brought you both today to talk about two different shows. Well, two related shows, but that are very out of this world in a lot of ways. And two of them are going to be Avatar the Last Airbender and Avatar the Legend of Korra. So thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having us.
having us.
Welcome.
I'm very
Welcome.
excited.
You're what?
I'm very excited.
Oh, okay. Why am I having Nick Jr. flashes when you say that?
Nick Jr.?
Well, it's just kind of the voice. It's like, hoo-hoo, Nick
Yeah, like they were like two like little squares. And one was just
Yeah.
like, "Yo, you're like, hello."
I don't remember this.
I only remember it because I'm weird like that. But
It's the nostalgia, the millennial nostalgia.
I like the
Burrowed in
callback.
our
Full
brain.
circle. Hell yeah. Callback. And so specifically today, I wanted to talk about like, why do we love it so much? What really set it apart from a lot of our shows? Because it's one show that my story of it. If you don't mind, I'll tell you how I got into it. Like it was very weird to me because I remember it being on. I remember being like a junior in high school, and Dark Knight Rises. The second Dark Knight movie came out. Christian Bale, and I remember like one of our teachers talking about it, and someone mentioned that Last Airbender was this show, and I remember seeing that, and I was like, "What is this fucking shit?" I was like, I think co-opting my culture again, and so I didn't watch it, and then I didn't watch it until I think I was this is what happened. So my mom and I watched a lot of TV shows growing up together, and this came on, and I had heard about it. I was like, let me see what the fuck this is, and actually it was the last episode. And so we saw like the second half of the last episode where they're all celebrating and it's really interesting. And my mom's like, oh, this seems like a really cool show. I was like, yeah, it kind of does. The next year I go to college and one of my friends gives me the entire series totally legally. And
Wink, wink.
and I had already seen a lot of it just by like setting like my DVR to record at my parents' house. So I caught it and I'm like, oh my God, this show's amazing. Things that really stood out were it talks about war, genocide, nationalism, supremacy, trauma, mistakes that people make, and then the growth that you have from them. But yet it does it from like a childlike view. It's very like almost Disney centered in that way. I mean, hell, the fucking like. There's so many things that I could break down, but I'll just so I don't co-opt all the time. I want you both to really talk too. To martial arts. I've made so many friends with this show too because even if they're not into cartoons or anime, I found that it really just kind of breaks that barrier. I don't know if you've had that encounter as well, but I definitely have. And people who
With making friends.
epic burn right there. No, I meant specifically like bonding people. God damn it, man.
I didn't mean that meanly.
Your face was just so serious when you said
Yeah, I was legit. I was like, are you fucking with me right now?
No.
Okay. Well, that was a good part. We're totally keeping that in. No, it was like the fact that like I would meet people who weren't necessarily into like animation or of any kind, and would really find anything cartoony to be kiddish, and it is. But
Yeah.
everyone knows my spiel if they've been listening to this show for a while. But it had fucking different martial arts, all Chinese systems, Qigong, Tai Chi, Northern Shaolin, Tiger Style, Praying Mantis, to name a few. But yeah, I've made friends through it who normally don't watch stuff like that. And then because of the themes that have come out from it. And yeah, it even has like a bunch of graphic novels that kind of fill in the holes form the show. Oh, my dear.
I love those.
they're so good.
They're beautiful. But like, if you don't mind, could you share some of the stories that you both remember?
Do you want to start or?
Yeah, well, I didn't actually watch Avatar until quarantine. So in 2020 is when I decided to watch it.
It's been 3 years.
It's been 3 years. Because I remember like so many people were like, you would like this show. Why haven't you seen it yet?
I was
Like,
one of those
Kunal being
people.
one of those people reminding me probably every 6 months, like, have you watched it yet? And I was like, oh, I'll get there. I was like,
to be fair, it was like every 4 months. Okay.
every 4 months, yes. But like, I watch a lot of cartoons. And cartoons are, I feel like, the main avenue for stories that I like to consume, at least like as far as like.
I mean, you're a big, you're an old anime head like me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, yeah, like it took me a while to watch it, but when I did watch it, I was just like, oh, this is what everyone's talking about. Damn, this show's cool.
And I remember you calling me afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah, you called. Like, it was very high during the lockdown, and you like called me. He's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "It's okay."
Yeah, I mean, I
saw
watched the whole thing in like 6 days. Like,
Yeah.
that's
right.
And this is coming from someone who does not binge things. I do not binge TV shows.
That's
I do
true.
not binge movies.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure like the circumstances of quarantine like played into why I binged it.
I mean, honestly, you were not the only one.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I was not
trust
the
me.
only one binging all the television, but it was really good. And I've learned since then, like, especially post quarantine, like meeting other adults who have watched it in quarantine as well.
You know what was funny? I remember you finishing it, and then like 2 days, not even 2 days later, they had put it all on Netflix.
Yeah.
And you were like watching it from legal sources.
Legal sources TM. And
Right.
I was. But yeah, I was like, oh, I could have been watching it like not in like poor quality, but either way, like
Which
a
were
lot of
legal sources. by the
total
way.
legal sources.
Yes.
But yeah, like a lot of people watched it when it came onto Netflix at that time, and it was really cool talking to other adults who had just seen it for the first time and being like, wow, this was like a really powerful story
Yeah,
for kids and teenagers to watch, and like it's a bummer that I waited this
The
long to
fan
watch
base
it.
exploded in numbers after
Mhm.
quarantine. It was astounding.
Mhm.
Absolutely astounding.
Yeah.
Did we watch it together?
The first time?
No, not the first time. Have we seen it together though?
Avatar
Or
the
did we
Last
just watch it?
We literally just watched it like 2 months ago.
God, it sounds like a couple, guys.
We just watched it.
Oh wow! Oh, that's right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay.
What comes to your mind first?
Well, so I was trying to think about when was the first time I watched it, and it was actually a similar experience as you. Is like the first time I came across it, I didn't really like I liked it, but I think I convinced myself that I didn't like it because of certain elements of it. So, like for example, I was into anime when it was coming out, and then I learned that it was I was watching it, and I don't think I knew that it was an American made like
Yeah.
TV
that
series
was part
at the
of what
time.
made me watch it.
Yeah, so I was like, so I was watching it and enjoying it, and I think literally when I learned that it was an American cartoon, I was like, oh fuck this shit. Like,
And honestly, I don't blame you.
I was-
The thing is, like, we do not have it. It was anime inspired. Like the really hardcore weebs will tell you it's not anime. There was a guy who I met at MomoCon, which is like the big anime convention back like 4 or 5 months ago. Tony Weaver, super nice guy, by the way. And he's like, I consider it anime because he didn't get listed his reasons. Definition wise, I've heard it's not, but I like to say it's just anime inspired.
Mm,
And just
Mhm.
stop any fucking argument for any weeb. So I was like, get out of my face
yeah.
and leave me alone. But yeah, so yeah, I totally get that. Sorry, continue on.
Yeah, so I think I ended up coming back to it as an adult. I must have been like, it was definitely after high school. And I remember watching it and just, it's one of those things where I didn't even know why I liked it so much. But now, after seeing it a couple months ago, it's like, oh my God. Like, first of all, like the inspiration of, like all of their movements, the martial arts, all of that is like, it's such a respectful, like,
Representation of it.
yeah, it's really like, it's honorific even. It's like they want to honor these cultures that they're drawing from, and they're even like bringing in beautiful,
Illustrations.
yeah, it's so good. And the voice actors, some of the most wonderful
They have
voice actors.
A-list voice actors.
Yeah.
Like, Elena, you sent me a video about a month ago about like the crazy people they got on the show.
Oh my gosh, so many like hidden celebrity
Like,
cameos.
And like people you would
Serena
never.
Williams.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Like,
say.
oh my gosh.
Like of all people, a tennis star who has rocked the world in the last 30 years from getting Grand
Yeah.
Slams was apparently a huge cartoon head and anime head, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just cool to see. And like from
So cool.
from her to Mark Hamill, they had everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Oh my
on there.
god! When I learned that Mark Hamill was
I couldn't unhear it. After.
dude, that Fire Lord, I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Oh my
Like
god!
Mark Hamill was like the voice of our childhood in so many of our cartoons.
Yeah.
So I mean, like when I found out he was the Joker on the documentary, I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Mm.
I was
Oh my
like,
gosh.
how did? Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I'm trying not to make this episode too much like on the production, how they made the show kind of thing, because I'm sure people are noting that when I do that. But regardless,
I'm not.
oh well, thank you, Sam.
When I
love you for that.
I like that stuff.
Okay, well, I gotta stop hating myself for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking rays of sunshine.
We love you, Kunal.
You guys are both rays of sunshine. I love you too. I mean that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mike and Brian, the two creators of the show, they talked about how when they were making the show and done research on it, they did, and they're two white guys from California, I believe, and they said what we tried to do is not make it an othering display of cultures. So they're combining a bunch of different ones that I was very surprised by. Definitely Indian, because that's where a lot of the like work comes from. Like it's surprising to me. I remember visibly having a conversation with someone about like, oh, I thought Buddhism was Chinese. I was like, it's popular in China, but it didn't start there.
Mhm.
The Silk Routes brought everything there, and that's the long of the short of the history lesson that I'll give you today. But yeah, so Indian, Chinese, I'm sure even elements of Korean. I will let you speak to that largely. Definitely Japanese. There's even some allegories, and I don't want to get too heavy too soon, but there's even some allegories about the Fire Nation being the Japanese imperialism in World War II. There's some old Chinese myths that they draw from. You could even like, I think one of the early drawings is actually during the West in a lot of ways, because Aang was just
Oh,
basically
he's like a
Sun
like-
Wukong, like
there's
kind
like
of-
there was like a little monkey creature situation going on.
right, and like Aang carries a staff with him the whole time.
Mhm.
So there's elements of that. And by the way, like this is going to be very spoiler heavy an episode.
Oh yes.
So like,
please. Watch the show
this is the
before.
best time if you want to stop now, you have to stop now. So unless stick around for the ride. But yeah, there was a lot. They didn't do anything where they were othering people, and so it was a great way of combining that. Even Inuit culture,
Mhm.
First Nations of America. Like there was a ton of combinations that they threw in, and they did it in a way that I was like, they had to. And I'm sure the writer staff was multicultural in this way, but it was headed by these two guys, and I was very impressed. I've never seen it done, dare I say, faithfully in that regard.
Mhm.
So yeah, but continue. I wanted to give that aside real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate that. I guess the last thing I'll say about what like I love so much about the show is, and this went into Korra as well, and even delved deeper in with Korra. But let's talk about The Last Airbender right now. Is like the themes of the show, while it was a kids show, while the characters were like 11 years old, 12, 13, 14 years old.
I think at the highest it was like 14 or 15.
Yeah, I think Zuko might have been 15.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So like, and it's, all throughout the show, like there's just like this childlike, I mean, he's a child. And there's this very beautiful lightness in the show that I love. But also there's this darkness, this mature, like, element to it that stays. It's always a balance of those things, and like it's even represented with
Tell me
Zuko.
a kid show that talks about genocide.
Dude,
Yeah.
show me another kid's show that like really dives into like parental abuse, like Zuko.
Oh my God.
Zuko's face is scarred by
Permanently.
his dad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
like that's crazy.
Who then banished him.
yeah.
For speaking up, honestly.
Yeah.
For like, and I was like, God. And now that I've done some of my own mental health work, I was like, wow, his dad's incredibly insecure.
Mhm.
His dad's just, and this is just how he compensated with it. He's like just intense violence. There's even a wild theory. This is a bit of a detailed tangent, but there's a wild theory that's going around now, and that's what's cool about it. Is like a lot of the writers and creators of the show didn't tell everybody everything right off the bat. Like a lot of things people have found out just from asking questions or posting about it or having fan theories.
Mm.
There's a theory that Zuko is partially deaf. You know, because the scar goes all the way to his ear.
Yeah.
Which makes everyone think like, no wonder he might be even more frustrated. He probably doesn't even, he probably doesn't realize it or he doesn't talk about it.
Mhm.
We don't even know how much his vision is obscured.
Yeah.
You can still see his eye. We don't know how much he's lost in terms of that, though. Thank God he had a better haircut by the end of the show.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
Like, but
No, honestly, I liked the first haircut.
I did too.
He looked like an angry genie, and I thought it was great. I loved it.
okay, that made it a lot better for me because I hated that haircut. And so it was a callback to like Manchu haircuts and from early Chinese history, but I fucking hated that haircut. And they even in the show was like, yeah, it's when you had that crazy ponytail, and everyone just was like, and he's just like, what?
Yeah.
There's some great like asides from it. Like I think we've talked about this before. It's when you watch things with older eyes, you love Aang as a kid. And as at least the older I get, the more I was like, oh fuck, like Zuko knows, like Zuko's where it's at.
Yeah.
Like development is really for him.
Oh yeah.
For understanding and everything. At least I wonder what I'll be in 10 years, honestly, when it comes to that. You got anything else you wanted to add?
I think I'm gonna talk a little bit about what I liked about
Please.
the show.
Yeah.
Just overall was a lot of it was Zuko. I'm gonna say I'm a Zuko fan, like through and through. Like
We've talked about that off air
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
I mean, anybody who, especially like as an emotional teenager, like if you were an emo child, like you're gonna bond with Zuko. You know, you're gonna love him because he is unruly in his sadness and his anger, and like he's like, and you're just watching him work through it with a pal, Iroh.
Oh my God.
You know, it's like
the
like
best
this
pal.
steady rock of love the whole time.
You know, I have this joke. So like two of my cousins, also like one of my cousins, technically I call them my niece and nephew, but like they're my cousin's kids, and one of them was a huge anime head, like the three of us, and his sister was like, what is this shit? She's incredibly intelligent, kind, wonderful person, but it wasn't her thing. And so like during the pandemic, they saw the show as the story was for everybody. And we were talking about it, and I said this thing that I'll never forget. It's like, yeah, you know, like Jet's awesome. Like we were talking about, my nephew was like, yeah, like on the street, everyone thinks I'm Jet, but like at home, I want to be like Uncle Iroh. And then I was like,
God.
it's so heartwarming.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And of course, I had to ruin it by saying, it's like, yeah, man, I try to be Jet in the sheets and Iroh on the streets. That's what I try to do.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
I'm sorry. I
fun.
wanted to give that like hilarious aside. Please continue.
Yeah, I feel like that's like my biggest part of that. I have definitely said some controversial things
Please.
in terms
share.
of
Please
like
share.
Zuko being the reason I watched the show, but also like without Zuko, I don't think I would have liked the show nearly as much. Like I think he balances out Aang in a way that is just like
He gets as much screen time.
just as much screen time,
Yeah.
and it's just like the heaviness of his part of the show is just, you know, I'm here for the sadness. Like I'm a sad boy at heart, so like that's what I want. That's what I want to see. I want to see people like relish in it, and I'm like, cool, show it to me, love it,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's what I really think that is like for me the core of the show.
I've definitely said this off air to a bunch of people, but like I always should have been an emo kid, but like the nasally voices just drove me away. Like, dear Maria, I'm like tell Maria to go away.
Like, come on, talk to you, Maria.
Because Maria and I want to be an American idiot. Like, please go away. Like, there's a great two things that I don't want to combine: Americans and idiots. Like, just leave me alone. I have strong emotions about this. But if I ever was like an emo kid, it was probably Zuko and then like Yusuke Urameshi. Those are the
Oh my gosh,
right. Like
Yusuke's perfect, just like the angriest emo kid.
the
Like,
angriest emo kid from Sarayaski Junior High.
Mhm.
Like fucking hell. But back to Avatar. Yeah, continue. I'm sorry if you had anything else you wanted. to add.
no, I think that's that for that thought that is wrapped up in a little bow.
Cool. I want to tag
You
into
don't
that.
have to raise your
thought.
hand.
I'm raising my hand.
Yes,
Yeah. Well, what's cool? I don't remember. Do you remember the show I was watching where like something super traumatic happened to a character, like a parent died or something like that? And I was telling you, I was like, I hope that this show like gives this character the space to explore the grief of this. You don't have to remember. Do you remember?
No, yeah, it was She-Ra. We were talking about She-Ra with Glimmer.
Oh yeah.
With okay, no, it's cool. Spoilers.
Sorry about the spoilers.
Spoilers for She-Ra. You haven't said the name yet, but
Yeah.
now we have. It's all good.
Yeah.
But when her mom dies,
Yeah.
Mm.
and sacrifices herself. Yeah, that was. I was like, oh, they're gonna bring her back, and then I'm like, oh shit.
No, she's dead.
Yeah, she's gone. You are now queen. Congrats.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think they did an okay job
Yeah.
of like giving her like showing Glimmer going through grief.
I like the metamorphosis she has physically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anything like the space that is given to the characters in Avatar.
That's true.
Like Zuko goes through this for fucking the whole
Yeah,
show.
what is it? 52 episodes of
8 times 3, 54.
And
54.
and the complexities. I mean, like you watch his character grow and heal and like become like you can see him budding into the good person that he's always been.
Mhm.
And Iroh, you know, all that's happening, but he's still hunting the Avatar because that's still, you know, that's part of his core wound. His dad has banished him and assigned him this duty. Like he thinks that this is the only way that he can return to like acceptance from his dad.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
His mom's gone. We don't know what's happened to her, at least in terms of in the confines of the show.
Yeah. And so it's therapeutic, I think the show is, to actually get to sit with this character as he goes through a healing journey with support, with friends. He ends up making friends that help him heal.
And he's still socially awkward, but he still makes friends.
Oh my God, he's so awkward.
Zuko here. I'm like, that's like the cringiest thing burned in my mind.
Oh my God, that was perfect timing. My God. Good on you, man. I mean, like everyone loves the part where he teams up. And I feel so bad for Toph because they don't really get to team up properly.
Mhm.
But like, he's like teams up with Sokka. Honestly, I think is the most who was like a great combination because you have like complete logic and complete emotion just going on, and they were like unstoppable in those episodes.
Oh yeah, when they break his dad out.
Yeah, they break Bato out.
Yo,
Yeah.
that was so cool.
That was such a great episode.
Yeah.
I mean, like he just like you see him use the breath of fire technique. You see Sokka act as a double agent for a while. And that's just fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then when he's in the war balloon with Zuko, you see Zuko just like being a fucking daddy, and luckily he's 15, so he's like fucking baller and just open. I'm sorry, I gotta say these things. Okay, I'm in my 30s now. I gotta protect myself.
Yeah.
For everybody. He's a good looking kid, all right? You can say that. And he's fucking jacked, all right? And he's opening the door and he's like just fucking like blasting it and keeping the war balloon going. He's like, yeah, my first girlfriend became the moon.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
He's like, it's rough, buddy. And like, to be honest, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I would say either.
Yeah. How often
What
would
can you
someone
say?
My girlfriend is now a celestial body, no longer of this earth.
Oh
Like,
my
who
God.
says that except for Sokka?
Exactly. And he was validating. He was helpful. He was awkward, but he's still like, he still is accepted and he's still trying. That's the beautiful part about him. He's still constantly going forward no matter what.
Yeah.
And because of all that, like of him having essentially like a third parent, which is Uncle Iroh, who I'm an uncle to 2 kids now, and I'm trying my best to be something like that. Just because like you don't like outside of the parents, and like it's funny whenever I see them and everything, like they think of me like. Well, one, because I'm just physically like smaller than most adults they see because of my height. But like I'm an uncle. I let them do whatever they want, and so they love to see me. I love to see them. I love to see them roast me all the time. I was telling you a bunch of jokes.
These kids got jokes.
These kids are like really fucking funny. They're 5 and like 8, and they're like a little too funny for their age. I was like, okay. Like your parents were definitely in the theater, and they were like they both. So they both have a very sharp wit. It's fun to see them grow every time I see them. The amount of influence you have as like an uncle is really interesting because they remember stuff. Like they're like, hey, how come you aren't married yet? And how come like you're moving so much? Like they're inquisitive. They ask questions. And I'm like, please don't remind me about being single right now. God damn it.
Damn it, children.
I know. But it is a very special relationship. And it's one that Iroh knows he's at such an interesting part because like no matter what he's doing, he's always trying to support his nephew, even though he's like a washed up former like hotshot
war
like,
general
war
situation.
general who should have been like Fire King.
Yeah, should have been the king.
But then when he lost his son, he was like, I don't even care about the throne. Just go about and I've gone back and I was like talking to someone else. I was actually talking to well, I want to protect his name. We were talking to one of our mutual friends about the show, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to see like a graphic novel or read a graphic novel with Uncle Iroh doing that. And our friend pipes in and goes like, so you want him to be a Nazi for a graphic novel? And I'm like,
snap.
I was like, fuck, you got a point there. Yeah. That's going to be hard to watch.
Yeah.
Because that's literally what he does for most of his time for Dragon of the West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that meme.
Actual imperialism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like he was the reason that they got as far as they did with Ba Sing Se. And then he was like, fuck it. But that's also the reason why they never went further with Ba Sing Se. So and then ends up just like even in the time of Great War, like becomes a grand lotus of a secret organization of people that are trying to quietly influence people to be more connected. Like they wanted to be like connect each other on like past borders and everything. And that was beautiful. Like them coming in the last episode where it decked out in their White Lotus outfits.
Oh my gosh, all the old men.
Oh my god.
I was like, fucking,
that was
if
so
they
cool.
can do it, boomers can do it.
Yeah, dude.
And you know the best part is there are boomers doing it.
There
and
are.
It's like, look at you guys go. Like,
Gotta find them.
just gotta find them. It's like the people who
It's
are
hard.
looking to connect peace or create peace and balance. That's the word, because like the balance of the four nations.
Balance of the Four Nations,
Or,
how
the elements, all that
it's an
stuff.
illusion of having. I mean, like it's funny going back and watching older episodes, specifically like season 2 when they're on the run from the Fire Nation, and you get to see that there's so many little hints here and there where he's like, he tells Zuko, Zuko asks him, I want to learn how to bend lightning, and Uncle Iroh goes, okay, fine. After much protest, he just is like, whatever, I'll teach you. And then he tells him the whole way, like Zuko like fails a bunch of times. He kind of like almost blows himself up like 4 times doing it. He's like, okay, I'll show you a trick that even your sister, who's a psychopath, doesn't know how to do. And he teaches him an aspect he learns from the waterbenders and gives this beautiful speech done by Mako about the Four Nations and how everything between them is an illusion. And Zuko is like, I don't give a shit about all that illusion shit. Tell me about how to like bend, how to like and like me going back is like when you finish the series, when you watch the series again, it's like watching the Ocean's 11, 13 movies. You go back and see like, oh, that was in front of my face the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And it's the rewatchability on the show is amazing.
Yeah.
I really liked that. The next kind of point I had was just like episodes that really stick out. So you want to go for there, or do you want to add anything, or go from there?
I don't know. Like I feel like Iroh. I think I do have some stuff I want to say about Iroh.
Please do. You can take your time.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Seriously.
So just my little thought about Iroh here is I was watching some discussion, whether it was a video on YouTube or something, but they were talking about Iroh as this sort of not a third, what did they call him? I don't remember, but the idea was like, so Zuko's in this dysfunctional family, right? With his sister and his dad currently. But Iroh represents this sort of third or like outside idea, like seeing like things are different. Like this is what Iroh shows Zuko.
View.
It's like, an alternative view. He's
not
offering
like
an
Trumpers,
alternative,
but like an alternative like fact in the one he's shoved with.
Yeah, it's just like this dysfunctional world you exist in isn't the only world you can exist in.
What I like about it, I want to add to that real quick, and I'll give it right back to you. I'm sorry. Is that he doesn't force him.
Yeah, it's just always passive.
He gives him the autonomy to choose it, even if he's having this overarching force from his father and sister and royal people in his life. He always is like, here's everything, and just slides the cake to him. He's like, it's your choice if you want to eat it. I'm here if you need me.
Yeah, and
I think it's really beautiful.
I think that's a really important thing too, like especially with him being Iroh being more, passive in his alternative view, but also like about like the patience of people unlearning harmful behaviors.
Yeah.
Because like we're literally watching Zuko like go, as Sammie was saying earlier, with all the grief that Zuko's going through, all the stuff he's learned too by being in the Fire Nation, by being the son of Ozai. So he has a lot of like, let's say like intense and harmful behaviors.
He has a lot stacked against him.
A lot stacked against him, but like Iroh's patient and like letting his nephew like letting the unlearning process happen on its own and always being a support in the background, which I think it's just something to like even think about our own lives, of the things that we are unlearning, being part of like, the U.S. empire.
Yeah, no, it's
you
true.
know?
I don't hear that often, but that's very true.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that, we are working through, and like having people with those alternative views or like offering an alternative to something destructive or to something harmful. I think
to call it out to what it is, and then he actually has the autonomy to do something about it.
Yeah.
Like literally from political power, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of dives into Korra, but we'll come back to that later.
Yeah, but that's my point on Iroh.
Cool.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yay.
Sam?
Thanks for sharing.
You got anything?
I'm thinking about that meme. There's a meme out there about, it's like, that me, them, like meme format. It's like me saying this, them saying this. Anyway, it's like
We'll link this
the me part is like I'm me talking about how great Uncle Iroh is, and then them part is like, but what about all the murder? And then the me part's like, what murder? What murder?
And that's a legitimate claim. That's a completely legitimate claim, and I'm sure he would be happy to answer for it.
Oh yeah,
honestly.
Yeah. I mean, he is answering for it by helping to
take
down the Fire Nation. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely the second and third season. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you covered a lot with Iroh. I'll just say that to what you were saying, like he was never forceful with his alternative opinion or its alternative worldview that he was offering Zuko, which was what made it so powerful. I think if he tried to force it, it would show how weak his worldview actually was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole point of his worldview was that we can't force others to do what we want them to do.
And you really should.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole, like, Fire Nation is fucking trying to make the world be there, be in their dominion. It's like, nah, I've tried that shit and it got my son killed. So, and I killed a lot of people doing it too.
There's a beautiful part that I found out. God, it's giving me goosebumps thinking about when Lutan, his son, gives him the letter. Like they don't translate it in the show.
Mm-hmm.
I found out later. It's like, I love you. Like he said something to the effect of like, I love you, Father. I will see you on the battlefield. Your son, Lutan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the son when you in memories of or like the adventures with Iroh in that episode.
Oh yeah. The one that we all cried at.
Literally
sobbed.
Well, because we saw him sobbing.
Because
he was singing that song.
Oh,
no jokes. Anytime I hear Leaves on the Grass, it just stops me in my tracks.
Yeah.
I that's not an exaggeration, an embellishment, or anything. I just immediately like someone who's so. It's like when you see someone who's so nice, and then you see them get angry. It's just like everyone dropped their shit and like backs away.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the one time we see him be vulnerable. On his own accord, like from him, instead of like he always crept the space for being vulnerable, but he never himself was vulnerable. And so when we see that, and then adding it to like the last episode that voice actor did before the Greg Baldwin took over from Mako, was like that was the last recording he did ever, and then he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
You didn't know it? Yeah. It was like, granted, it's fresh in my head because I met the voice actor in May. But
so cool.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy. Very sweet guy. He has a White Lotus tattoo on his forearm.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
He's pretty great. Yeah. Well, before we move on, there was something I want to talk about the martial arts. One of my friends that was my college roommate was into Shaolin martial arts at the time. And Sammie, as much as I do, martial arts is a very small community. Like you'll run into people who are, dare I say, famous quite often, or like you'll be a couple steps away from people who are really well known, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sure you have connections to Eddie Bravo pretty quickly, more than most people.
I wouldn't call him connections, but I've been in the same room as him and gone to one of his seminars. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly what I mean. Like you are, the access to them is much smaller. Than you think. So this guy got the opportunity. This person got the opportunity to work with specifically the instructor they used for Toph style. So they got to meet.
Cool.
So Hungar Tiger style is what they use for their Earthbenders. Specifically for Toph, they use Praying Mantis, which is, and they got to do a seminar with said person. Yeah, he said it was a good time.
That sounds so fun.
It was ridiculous.
Oh
He slept in a house with like 10 other guys, and they just did it for a weekend. It was like one of those adventures.
That sounds so good.
Yeah. It was a kind of wild adventure with that. What's also funny is that the same two niece and nephew that I mentioned, the other niece and nephew, or not the one like my cousin's kids, had a weird connection for like privacy issues. I won't go into too much, but like apparently they were childhood friends with someone that Toph used to date. So, which was even wilder. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was a very, very wacky story. Yeah, essentially, like I shared a picture about something, and my friend, my niece goes like, "I know that kid. We grew up with him."
Oh my god.
How interesting.
It was very wacky. But yeah, they were. When I met her in May, I was like, maybe not tell her that story. Like, let's just let that go, because that would be kind of weird. But yeah, that was just a random tidbit out there.
Yeah, so much degrees of connectedness.
Seriously. Yeah.
Like one of my favorite musicians of all time, I'm only 1 degree connected away from him, and I'm just like, so cool. Maybe I'll meet him one day. Who knows?
Was this the story you told me about the drummer or something?
Drummer. No, that was a different sad story. But it's like when one of your favorite musicians at the time invites you to go hang out in the van, but you're too drunk to understand what they said, so you just go home and you realize it like hours later. You're like, no. That's my sad story.
Probably a good move.
Honestly, it was like,
yeah.
Like I would have just made a fool of myself, but I would have met some cool people.
I've been there before.
Yeah. But I did have something else I wanted to say, because we were talking about Iroh's worldview, and then we were also talking about Zuko's awkward friendships with the other characters. And I kind of want to offer like Zuko's worldview with those characters when he first comes in. So like when Aang goes on an adventure with him, and Katara goes on an adventure with him, and Sokka goes on an adventure with him. I think what Zuko offers those three is exploring like anger and like I'm gonna say a little bit of darkness, like when he goes with Katara to go murder this person.
Katara episode.
So
my god.
Yeah. And I think that's like, because like he's like role-playing Iroh at that point, right? He's like, I'll go with you, I'm there to support you in murdering this person who
I mean he was not like he was not against her murdering him. And it was also a way of healing their relationship as well.
Yeah, and he like let it on the table though. So it's like, I'll go with you, whether you kill this person or not. Like obviously he's like didn't want it to happen, but like at the same time, like Aang was like, you can't do that. Where Zuko's like, let's just go and find out.
Didn't she bloodbend in front of him?
She did.
Oh my god, she did. And that was one of the coolest fucking scenes in the entire show.
I was just about to bring that up because like that was the most, pun intended, blood curling parts of the episode.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, okay, we have to interrogate him. And she's like, no, we don't. And it's just like, and Zuko is just, I think there's a split second where Zuko is just like, gulp.
Yeah.
And just like,
she could do that to me.
And she's like, exactly. And he's like, oh, okay, not gonna piss her off again.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm on your side.
Yeah, man. I'm just gonna be over here. Those are damn good points because they and honestly, Book Fire, and this actually leads into my next part of like my favorite episodes because Book 3, Book of Fire, 18 episodes. I don't think I have one of them that's bad. Honestly.
Oh my gosh, that whole book is just awesome. Absolutely
the Dancing Dragons episode with him and Aang, my favorite ones because they actually like they explore, please correct me on this, but they explore Central American and Mesoamerican culture, and they throw that into the mix as well.
Mhm.
I think Aztec and Mayan for sure.
That's what it looks like, a sort of like
Yeah.
combo situation.
And like they're like the reveal at the end of that Iroh didn't kill the last dragons was like, shit, your uncle knows everybody.
Yeah, literally, your uncle knows the whole world.
He's like, I love how they're like at the end, it's like, and you can't leave. No, we're just kidding. But it was like, but don't tell anyone about this.
That's the best. That humor is so good.
There was a lot of good humor, and I love how they did that, because even though as horrible as it is, there still are elements of light and levity that are important. Yeah, so any of Book Fire, literally anytime the Blue Spirit shows up.
Oh my god, Blue Spirit's so cool.
It's like
So
maybe
cool.
only 3 episodes I think he shows up, or
yeah.
it feels like 3, but like no words, just music. Oh, okay, you're ninja trained? All right, I'll listen.
Sure.
Why not? I'm like, okay, dual broadswords, no firebending. Okay, cool.
Sick.
So you're a double threat. Like you're not only physically adept, but you're actually like a good bender too at the same time. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, terrifying.
And then in the graphic novels, you actually learn where those masks come from.
Yeah.
Speaks of that.
So exciting.
How did you enjoy the graphic novel?
I won't go too far into it because Elena hasn't read yet.
Okay.
I have.
You read The Search?
I read The
Search.
And so this is another reminder that they're a couple. Just in case you were wondering.
We haven't talked about it.
No, we
Or
haven't.
maybe we can talk about it.
We're reading so much right now.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. Okay, so there's The Promise
Yes.
and The Search. You read The Promise as well,
Yes, I
right?
read The
Okay, we haven't
Yeah, it was intense.
we haven't read The Rift yet, but
Mhm.
the whole fucking The Promise is
and
amazing.
I love how all of these are like in canon. Like they are
Yes.
100% like confirmed by the creators. Like, yes, this is legit what happens.
Oh, it's so good.
It's
I mean,
so rewarding.
I love the story of The Promise.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
Zuko, like,
Go ahead and keep talking.
you have to promise to me that if I start going down the path of my father, that you will kill me. And then, oh my God, see, Zuko does all of the good learning in the show. Because in The Promise at the end, he realizes that he just like put the whole weight of his own like emotional growth on Aang's shoulders.
Yeah.
And he's like, that was really incredibly unfair. And
He didn't trust himself.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Zuko, thank you again, like
Yeah.
for just being the most emotionally like his aptitude for growth is just so it's unbounded.
Yeah, because we watch him like go through like oscillations in the show, and then it continues in the graphic novel, like because that is like I think a step back, you know, for him. Like he's like, I'm head of the Fire Nation, I'm making these good decisions, but then
Heavy is the crown that I wear.
yeah, heavy is the
Mm.
crown, and like he's worried about becoming like a dictator, totalitarian.
He's so
and, like,
afraid of turning into his father
Yeah.
that he's like, I will take any steps to do it, which is like just makes you feel for the guy because he's really just trying not to be evil, and I feel it's almost yeah. I mean, at the time it was necessary because Iroh was like, good and evil have always been a part of your nature, and he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you're related to both avatars. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, your mother's side was related to Avatar Roku. And you're like, oh, that explains a lot. When you find out certain lineage patterns, like I found out that what was it? Well, I mean, did I tell you the Freddie Mercury story?
Oh my gosh, yes,
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, yeah. Do you know that? Basically,
think
like
Sammy
my
does.
my grandmother knew Freddie Mercury's mom, and like they
I know.
yeah, I know. They knew. I don't know how well they knew each other. They went to the same high school,
Yeah.
and like I just find that out when I was like 15, and I was like, why didn't I get told this earlier?
Oh yeah. That's a wonderful piece of
Important
news.
piece of
Yeah,
information.
like I need to get it for my cousin, but she has the high school record of like the
Oh,
name,
so
I need to go get that. I talked about that in a different episode, so we won't go down that road. But when you find out certain things about your past, it's almost like understanding part of yourself, because I find I'm a big fan of science,
Mhm.
love it, but I find that there's a lot to be said for something in your genes for like that your ancestors have some hand in how you turn out in some form or fashion. I'm starting to really like be open to that idea. Now, I haven't explored it completely, but I find it interesting. But my point, I'm tangentially going way over the place. My point was like him saying that it was always in your nature to fight good and evil. It's like it almost cements with him as like, oh, I'm always going to be part evil. And it's like, dude, no, that's not exactly what we're saying. But go ahead, continue on.
Well, what do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts because
about the graphic
we haven't
novel?
talked about it at all.
Yeah. So okay. So this is what I think is cool.
Please.
So we've talked about the Fire Nation as like an imperialist sort of like representation, and obviously imperialist in nature. But like there is a colonizing element, I think, between Ozai and Zuko's mom, whose name I'm forgetting at this moment.
I am blanking on her name too. I'm blanking on her name.
Okay, well, we'll call her
Zuko's mom.
Sorry, Zuko's mom. But like it is like this sort of like, so Zuko exists between the colonized and the colonizer. Like I feel like that's kind of part of his representation, like as being like a torn person,
especially the children of the colonizer.
Yeah, and then like being raised in that culture, in the colonizer culture.
Wow.
Yeah. And so like as a mixed race person who is Latine descent, and it's like, okay, I have both of those things in me as well. Like I that's something I feel like I bond with Zuko so much about, and why I'm like obsessed with him.
I didn't realize that. That's beautiful. Because
when you look at the comic, like Ozai goes and finds her, like his family goes and finds her.
Yeah, they were Fire Nation like islands.
Yeah, and it's like we're gonna find the descendants of Roku and make sure he's integrated into our bloodline. Literally, because he is the biggest threat. And I think that's like a really interesting.
That is interesting.
That's my reading of it.
No, I like that because mine was different. I mean, my culture, like arranged marriage, is pretty common. So for me, I was like, oh yeah, I get it, all good. But that's a whole other angle I never saw, and that's beautiful. I love. So glad you said that. Yeah, a little in shock right now. Actually,
I know it just occurred in my brain. It's like, yes, my coherent thoughts today. You're welcome.
You're full of coherent thoughts.
You are. You have plenty of coherent thoughts. You keep on saying, "I'll have 2 brain cells." I'm like, you have like 20.
So at least. That's cool. It's a sweet thought.
Yeah.
Especially with that, like if we're looking at the Fire Nation through that Imperial Japan lens, you know, like that was such a, I mean, that's something that Samurai Champloo explores so much, right? Is that like the end of the
Tokugawa
indigenous peoples in Japan before they become homogenized into the Japanese people.
Mugen's Ainu, right? Oh, that explains a lot more.
Which is kind of like, that's why
Mugen's not Ainu. He's from Ryuku's Islands. And so there's the two, at the two ends, there's Ryuku in the bottom and there's Ainu up top, and he meets another Ainu character. So another indigenous character shows up at some point in the show. And that episode actually was really fucking awesome.
Which, by the way, which is why it's so cool that the song that's played in that episode is by a Okinawan singer who sings in traditional Okinawan style. Wow. And Okinawa is of those islands, the last remaining indigenous peoples that are not integrated into the homogenous Japanese people. It's so fucking cool.
That's pretty dope.
It's so dope.
And even when we're looking at it that way, like not just like, it really is, I think, like a colonizer's story in that sense. Like, she was hunted down. Like, let's go back to Zuko's mom here. Like, she was searched for.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
I mean, she makes a deal to, like, she was like very beautiful, and she makes a deal. Like, it's an insane story. Like, she makes a deal with a god to be like, yeah, take my memory away because I can't do anything, and I can't live with these memories. I have to forget my life from there because there's no way I can continue living. And she trades up, like, the god's like, well, you'll have such a plain face compared to the beautiful one you have now. And she's like, I'm done. Like, I can't live this life. And she honestly, I can't blame her. I can't blame her for making that call. I mean, how else are you going to enjoy the rest of your life, or at least have a life?
At least have a life. Yeah. Because like when we think about, you know, the effects of colonialism on people today, like we can talk about all the ways that people cope with that. And I feel like that's the way she chose to cope, right? Was change her face and forget, like, and obviously she was really upset forgetting about her children.
Yeah.
But like, that was that was what she had to do to survive.
And she like helped plot a king's death too.
Yes.
Yeah.
She helped. Yes, there was murder involved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like she's just like and there's this whole back and forth about like Zuko not being related to Ozai, and she's like, no, you are his son. That there's no mistaking that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. But like, it's another layer of acceptance. It's another layer of like, your mom did whatever she could in a fucked situation, because like the moment she got married, she's like, okay, it's not uncommon in my culture to get arranged marriages, and then you just hear him like sneer over and say something. He's like, this is the last time you will see your family.
Yeah, he said evil shit that entire fucking graphic novel.
Dude, yeah.
Like everything Ozai said, I was like, this man is absolutely atrocious and like unrelentingly evil.
Unrelentingly evil, and I almost think it's unfairly evil to like to the point where I'm like, okay, we haven't seen any other part of him that's not this. And I'm like, there had to be more than this.
Yeah, and I think that's like why it's great as a kid's show, like and as like for children. It's like this person is just obviously evil, right?
Well,
Don't
actually,
have to raise your hand,
but I like to. I think I have something to add to that. Actually,
please do. Yeah.
I do think that we actually get a window into why he's so like kind of evil like that, because as Zuko is coming to his dad with these questions like, how do I do this? Like, how do I be the Fire Lord? Like, how do I wear this crown? How do I bear this responsibility? We see how Zuko is pushed towards what his dad is.
Like he has to make tough calls.
He has to make really, really tough calls. His dad and what it seems like is generations back, they all just decided that this is the decisions that need to be made. This is the way that we have to go. So it seems like it doesn't really. It seems like it almost opens a window to empathize with Zuko's dad. I did feel like, oh wow, like this is a really interesting look at Zuko's father, and like he's not just a
psychopath.
Yeah, he's not just a blank evil character, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like he is in Avatar the show, going back to the show.
Gives dimension to him, because that was my only gripe with that show, or one of my only gripes with the show. A few gripes with the show, I'll say. Because I'm glad that gives him dimension, because you got to see also from Sozin, his father or that was Azulon. His grandfather and father probably raised him as well to be like, we have to create a perfect society, and this is the way you do it. And I mean, I feel like Azula was almost like the mirror image of him being really good at firebending, ruthless, or had a ruthless streak in them, because to get some stuff done, you have to have a ruthless streak in you. And I feel like that got so warped for him.
Yeah.
That like, this is the way I have to be, and children are just a means to an end, essentially.
Is this some portrait of like toxic masculinity and patriarchy?
Oh yeah, totally. Like there's tons of memes. Oh damn.
Snaps!
There's a ton of memes of like toxic masculinity, and they show Ozai, and they show like masculinity, and they show Iroh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, those are perfect examples.
Yeah. Because like when I think about like the culture of like patriarchy, like let's say like Ozai and his father and grandfather, like, okay, y'all are stewing in it, and Azula is also stewing in it, but Azula isn't getting the same treatment if she were a boy. And so I think that's like, and you know why, like,
which is why like,
part of why she like is, kind of snaps a little bit, and like,
because she gets like accolades, and she's like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
And like the entire time I was happy being an agent in the darkness and nearly killing people or being incredibly ruthless. It's I don't know what to do with my father saying I did a good job.
Yeah.
That was a very weird part. Like the music changes immediately. She starts having hallucinations, and there's even a wild theory that she shows up as an old lady in Korra, that Zuko like kind of fakes her death and says, "Go live a life." Go.
Oh, interesting.
There's a random theory that she shows up in the Fire Nation as a decrepit old lady in Korra, and incredibly old. And
do you know what episode that was?
I forgot, and I should have looked it up today. And I'm sorry.
Let's go to the internet.
I am curious. Oh, go. Do you guys
yeah, there's it's a fan theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah,
I'm curious. You mentioned your gripes.
Oh, I mean, that was really like that was one, and I'm sure I have more. I just haven't think of them right now.
Oh, that's interesting. That'd be an interesting, like,
What my gripes are?
yeah, that'd be an interesting thing because I haven't really considered what my gripes about the show are
Interesting.
either. But yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
yeah.
I did have something else I wanted
Yeah.
to say about the search.
Please do.
So like a big element of it is like brothers and sisters, like siblings and family.
Oh
Especially
yeah.
And-
the water trap siblings.
Yeah, and
Oh,
we're seeing
yeah.
so the water tribe siblings that are in the story that they're like looking to replace the brother's face because it was like stolen. And his sister's just taking care of him. Like that's what she's like. That's what sisters do. He's
Yeah.
my brother. And so this is Zuko trying to, I think, like
He
make
brings his
sense.
sister along.
Yeah, trying to make sense of his dysfunctional family. You know, like he's trying to love his sister the same way he's seeing these other people love their sisters and love their siblings, but like just met with such resistance from her, which I think is like, but like, so if that fan theory, like if he really did like protect her this whole time, I'd be like, that's heartwarming and I like that.
Yeah, and it's not
Yeah.
impossible either.
Yeah, not impossible.
Could have definitely happened.
Yeah, for sure.
Good point.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yo.
One of the other parts that I feel like people say it's a Deus Ex Machina kind of thing, where like the God in the machine, they just give Aang the ability to take people's bending away.
hmm
I was thinking about this a lot the past 2 days.
Ooh.
And this is my thought on it. It's like even the old so the part I'm talking about is like specifically in Sozin Comet where he gets the ability from the lion turtle. And they teach him like there's like this bending ability was not given to everybody. This is how you can bestow it and take it away from people. When he talks to people from like Yang Chen, who are also from his order,
Mhm.
and she's like, "Yeah, I had to do what I had to do." Basically, she doesn't give him an answer to console a 12-year-old kid
Yeah.
about like, "Yeah, you know, you should just go kill this person." I'm like, he is not even a teenager. What are you doing?
hmm
And Zuko has a point. Like, what are you going to do with my dad? Like, when you come across him, she's like, I get that you have this whole philosophy of not eating meat and respecting life, but what are you going to do? And there's even clips online of like Aang in quotes not killing people and like
Yeah.
about like especially when he becomes the water like
Oh my gosh.
End
yeah.
of season 1.
end of season
the
one.
end of season 1. That episode was fucking cool. Those 2 episodes
Yeah,
were fucking
That's
cool.
that's actually on my list of cool episodes that I
mean,
love.
Yeah.
That cemented my interest in the
I
show.
mean, he basically became like a glowy mech and started knocking people down like they were nothing.
Slicing.
Think of
like,
how many people he killed in that episode.
dude, he was literally slicing Fire Nation like ships in half.
Like,
like if he
It
could
was like a
directly killed them, some of them drowned.
someone drowned. 100%. And we just like, oh, that's cool. Let go.
Yeah.
Keep on going.
Kid
So
show.
Don't kill Ozai.
So the whole, I will maybe say like the Avatar state took over and did what they had to do because the Avatar state is it's a god. So like gods are fine with getting their hands dirty, essentially, from what I've noticed. And a lot of them are warriors, a lot of them are soldiers, so it's not uncommon for that to happen. I guess in previous Avatar incarnations. So, but like the part that they don't draw that connection, I'm like, you killed like a bunch of people over in this episode. Like the Sandbenders, I'm surprised any of them are not paralyzed or dead.
Yeah. It's like Batman, no killing,
Right.
you know, when he's
We'll
like just breaking people's spines.
We'll just give them
Ruin
concussions,
their lives
and-
forever.
and,
Yeah.
like paralyze them forever.
Mhm.
Like you're saying.
Yeah.
But you know, we won't kill them.
Yeah.
They won't die.
Like there's even a part in like the Injustice games, the sequel, like he's fighting with Damien, his son, and they knock out a guard, and he like fit like 6 punches directly to the top of the head, and he's like, so, and I'm not even shitting you. The dialogue is like, so you don't want to kill people, but CTE is fine. And I remember playing that, watching that, I'm like, did they just say that? Did they just full on just admit
They're
that?
calling it out.
Yeah. And that's what I love about
Yeah.
the Harley Quinn show because they like, you know, I
Oh
don't know
my
if you've seen
God.
it yet, but like,
No, I love that show.
so good. But like, you know, like they kind of riff on Batman, like kind of these like absurd things.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough about
Where the hell is my Tesla machine? Where the hell is my electronic car? You have to watch the show to get that reference.
It's so good.
Yeah, another one of my getting back to that point earlier about Sozin's comment. So he gains that ability, and it's kind of like a martial arts tactic. It's like there are martial arts that definitely like are taught to like straight up kill, but there also are martial arts that you just subdue as much as you can. Cobra Kai kind of touches on this. I've seen arts that have used nerve strikes, but it's not shown. The way it's shown is very over dramatized. Like he's knocking people's arms like and they're dead and shit. You can fuck people's arms up by hitting a bundle of nerves here. I've had it done to me and it was not fun. And the way they so in that way I thought it was interesting they did that. Plus in BJJ the entire idea is like, okay, fine, put them in a headlock, knock them out for a certain amount of time, then catch their body and go down. So like you definitely encountered this a bunch. And just wonder if you had anything to add to that point. So I really liked it for showing that part because it was like another way of using violence, but not as a way to kill people, but to subdue them and be like, we can come back to this later kind of thing.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought.
That was a lot of word vomit. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. It's an interesting thought to think of that as a Deus Ex Machina.
People think of it as a Deus Ex. I've come around to be like, maybe it wasn't. Maybe there was a connection to real world fighting applications.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, honestly, when it comes to shows, often I have a very lenient eye when it comes to things like Deus Ex Machinas. Like, I'm in it to enjoy things for the most part.
Same.
So like my critical view of things is really like, unless it's just like glaringly obvious that they're just milking me for my, like they're just trying to like, they're not trying to create a coherent story. They just want my eyes on their product. Like, then I'm pretty cool with
whatever they want.
Yeah, whatever. Like, just take me on the ride, as long as and I thought the way that they portrayed it was so fucking fun. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
The blue orange Fire Lord,
and then you think he's gonna lose, and then at the last minute it comes through.
It was so fucking cool. I thought
it was a good way of winning a war without having to kill somebody. I thought that was cool.
I thought it's another portrayal again of alternate worldview. Like
Sure.
all the avatars were telling him like, you gotta kill him. Like, you gotta do it. Like, there's no other way. But Aang found another way. Like, another entity was there going, hey, I got a skill for you.
Right.
And I think that's like there's always a way. Like, there's always something you can do.
There's
like,
options.
There's options. There's always options, even when it seems like there aren't any.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty big message of the show now. Like, I didn't think about it before until our conversation, but now I'm like, oh, that's a pretty important thing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that till now either. In fact, I'm just kind of marinating in that right now. I mean, there are times where it definitely like sometimes it is the only option, but I just love that they gave him an option for it. So,
and to your point of like, if it makes sense and if it's like a martial arts application, I mean, in the whole series, like, bending isn't some static thing that they know everything about.
they're learning even core.
Fucking metal bending happens in the show. Like, lava bending happens.
So fucking cool.
Blood bending.
Blood bending,
Like
air, like literal like oxygen out of your air lungs.
Oh my god! Like the explosion guys. You know,
the
like
explosion man.
like whatever tribes
Boom
that we know
boom
about.
guy.
yeah,
Honestly.
it's all it's an evolution. It's just like martial arts. Like you talk about jujitsu. Like jujitsu is constantly evolving. People like
From
there's
10 years ago, it's different.
I mean, yeah, from 6 months ago, it's different. This is something that's like, I liked that.
Okay.
Aang found a new avenue.
You guys
It's
are
like,
refreshing in the way that you're like, because a lot of people online are like, wait a minute, they did this in the show. And I'm actually glad to hear this perspective. It's like warm water on the face or cool water on the face to hear that. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of metal bending episode, Guru Pratik's episode was so beautiful.
Yeah.
what is it?
When Aang meets the Guru, who was like the spiritual brother to Monkey Yatsen.
Yeah, who was like taking care of Appa when
It's like
Appa was sick.
the most like cringy Indian accent I've heard in a while.
Oh my gosh, can we talk about how he was the only character in the entire show with an accent?
Yeah, that was kind of wacky.
That's like literally my one gripe with the show. It's just like
There are parts like
ooh,
that's one of my things with
Wow.
it too. Like a lot of the main cast is white, and like I kind of am in the middle of that when it comes to characters because like my thing is like if you do it in other countries, harder to get certain people there. This is America though.
Yeah.
Like you name it, we got it. Like
you name it, we got it.
you know, we got it,
Everyone's
like,
here.
Like literally, the buffet table is like full.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
everybody is here. You got dosas, you got kalbi, you got everything, man. Like we need to hit Korean barbecue again.
Yo.
Yes, I want some japchae and that
Japchae.
potato salad. I think
was-
about it every day.
I can't look at potatoes again. Like the same way.
It's like they need apples. They need
It was so
light mayo.
Like when I saw you eating it, I'm like that in my mind. Like that looks disgusting, but you enjoyed it like a champ, and I'm like, I gotta try this.
Yeah.
honestly
that's
the best
awesome.
potato salad I've ever had.
Yeah, and it didn't have raisins.
No raisins.
You brought up something last time we talked about this,
Did I?
about monkyatsu. Do you remember this?
I think I do. Remind me though.
So you were talking about how the scene where Aang comes up
Oh, we talking
and
about this.
finds
Yeah,
Monk Gyatso's body
forgot to look.
and
this up.
all the firebenders. And you were, I don't remember what exactly you were saying.
if they were truly killed by the firebenders, wouldn't their bones be charred? And when we see the skeletons, it just looks like they're just skeletons.
Yeah, they
there's
just died.
and there's a fan theory. There's been a lot of fan theories. I
So
brought up.
many fan theories, but they're so fun.
They're so interesting, and they don't like the. And there's a fan theory that they use techniques that might be akin to what Zahir did,
Mhm,
and they just lost the fight because they were overwhelmed and they didn't know an invasion force was coming.
mhm, mhm.
Um,
Wait, what is he here? What,
When he
Zahir, when he takes out the,
Takes the
air
oxygen out of the
from
lungs.
from the
oh, for sure. dude.
right, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, there's. Like, come on! The thing is, you got to remember, Aang is still a kid, even though he's a master. He probably doesn't know everything.
For sure.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't like sure he's got the tattoos and he's a fully black belt ranked, but like even you want to draw examples from Samurai Champloo when Jean learns the final technique, he's like his master's like, I want you to never use that, and he's like, because you literally offer your body up as a target so you could
Mhm.
stab the person.
Mhm.
He's like, fine, like stab me in the abdomen and then I'm gonna kill you. It was, one way to take your enemies out.
One way.
Well, I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, so that's the theory that goes around, makes the rounds on the internet. It's like that. How did they really die? And that. Yeah, that's really the short of it.
Can we talk about what? So
We
that's
can talk about anything, buddy.
that scene. just so we're on the same page.
Yeah.
It's Monk Gyatso in that room
Mhm.
in like the
They're outside.
he's on
in
the
fact.
or yeah so he's against the wall and there's a ton
Bunch
of
dead
Fire
people.
Nation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So that's what happened. Okay.
that's the
Yeah.
scene I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think Monk Gyatso killed a lot of motherfuckers. I think he fucking killed a lot of motherfuckers.
How he did like a self-sacrifice thing.
Yeah. So
sure.
the fan theory, like I specifically read, was like he took the air out of the room,
That's
and so that took him out too.
yeah.
Oh
And so that's what that was what I read.
That's my
the
first
theory.
thought for
Yeah.
sure. It's like he just like
He's like, this is one way I can probably get someone to survive by
Yeah.
just taking them all out and like all happy to do it.
mm.
Mhm.
So he was friends with Guru Patik. But we got way off.
Oh
Way
yeah.
off.
But it's okay. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And like him talking about most of the chakras, if not all of them, and how I think this is a really big message of not only this show but even the sequel is like life is messy and it's not simple. You have to make the best calls you can in life. And Aang brings up all like when I was out of college and kind of just rehabilitating myself inside and out, I would watch this episode a lot and just be like, okay, what's blocking what's blocking this, what's blocking that, like what am I fearful about, what am I angry about, what do I hate myself for, like all of these kind of issues. Like this show is very steeped in mental health,
Mhm.
especially Korra.
Yeah, especially Korra.
Yeah,
episodes.
like, it was a really good episode to kind of watch and check up, and I would send it to somebody at the time who was going through a lot too, and it said it was like helpful in their own way.
Mhm.
And I think about that episode because I love the example he shows, and some just saying that life is messy and we have to make the most of it.
Mhm.
I have you saw an hour before this show was produced. Like I was a perfectionist about getting all this stuff set up, and even though I don't have everything right the way I want to, I'm a perfectionist. That's who I am, and I'm working with it. And I got to remind myself continually that life is messy and we make the most of it. Like we got it to work. It looks like a fucking Frankenstein that died out here, but we got it to work. We got to record. We got to hang out with cool people.
Mhm.
It's a good time. I need to remember that. And you guys were very supportive. So thank you.
Yay, channeling Iroh.
Do you have any thoughts about that episode?
About that episode?
Yeah.
I mean, I really liked the episode because I
Yeah.
feel like it was like a deep dive into Aang's brain. You know, it was just like all the experiences this literal child has had up until this point, and like how he has to deal with it.
He ran away because he was terrified.
Because he was terrified of, he didn't want to be the Avatar.
No,
And I think
he was
that's-
totally happy with relinquishing that title, living a life. Just, like,
Yeah.
enjoying life.
And I think that's something, you know, important to consider when we're looking at this show and like with Aang's like hanging on to his childhood as much as possible because he doesn't want to grow up because he's a kid.
Yeah.
But also like he's being forced to grow up.
Yes.
And I think this episode was really good at like kind of like recalling that and recalling where the trauma was living in his body from having to grow up.
Basically, yeah, literally. Yeah,
Mhm.
literally.
And I think a part I really liked about it was when he was supposed to be giving up his attachment to Katara
Yeah.
and he couldn't do it because he didn't want to do it.
I mean, who would?
Who would? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the person you love.
First beautiful
and...
woman you see when you wake up, or
Yeah.
first girl you see when you wake up. And I mean, I saw those eyes. I probably feel similar.
Yeah, I mean, he was like frozen in like a ice cube for like 100 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah, chronologically 112.
112 years. But I think what's cool about that is later, you know, in the series when he is battling Ozai, it obviously works out. It's okay. It's okay he didn't follow the path that was laid out in front of him.
Yeah.
And that he again found another way.
I love that.
Whoa, dude.
And to quote that Jurassic Park guy whose name I'm forgetting.
Jeff Goldblum.
Life finds a way. Malcolm something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what was weird? I was just talking about that with someone else.
I mean, honestly, that quote is applicable in most situations.
It's one of your favorite quotes.
It truly is. I love that character and I love that quote.
It's like, oh, look, it's following. Oh, over there. There you go. I'm like, what are you doing, old man?
You creep.
I love that episode. I think about it often. It's really like a
Ozai or Guru Patik? Which
what-
doesn't comment.
Guru
Guru Patik.
Patik.
Yeah.
Guru Patik. I think about that episode a lot because it seems it's such a like reflecting on my own life, you know, enlightenment or salvation, these things are things that like I grew up, these concepts, they're all around us, but like with me, I grew up in a really like conservative Christian home. It's cult like, you know, this is the way, the one way that you can be saved, you can go to heaven. And so like anytime anyone has since then has told me that this is the way to like enlightenment or whatever the fuck, like it just like my psyche just like fits into that puzzle really easily. I find myself falling for those traps often.
It's hard. Trauma doesn't grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird.
Yeah. So it is really, I really love that, like you said, Aang finds his own way. Like, you know, because even at the end, Guru Patik is like, you have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to, like, you can't leave now. Like, you have to finish the process. Aang's like, nope. I gotta go save my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love that.
Mm.
You know, he finds his own way to live, and he was even willing to sacrifice enlightenment, you know, for that.
Yeah.
And that's I think it's a beautiful lesson because like
I never thought of that way. That's actually really interesting.
you know, maybe I don't want enlightenment. Maybe I just want to, you know, care about my friends,
Yeah.
and that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I find that's wow. You guys are killing it today. Fuck.
Got ideas.
Shit. Okay.
Thoughts.
It's all of our minds together.
Yeah. I mean, I think he was just going for logistically. He's like, if you want to make it to the Avatar state, this is what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then juxtapose it with, I'm 12 fucking years old.
12 years old. This is
Like,
a baby child.
I am not. Like, I'm not fully. My brain hasn't fully. Well, they even say past 25, but like, he hasn't fully matured yet.
Mhm.
It's a lot to ask for a kid. It's a bit unfair.
A lot. It is. Like, and I think that's a interesting element of the show. It's just like we have to just constantly remind ourselves, like, this is a child. Like,
Yeah.
that is just, to me, blows my mind every time I think about it. I'm like, oh, Aang, 12 years old.
Yeah.
Katara, maybe 13.
Yeah.
The rest of these kids, fucking 15. Babies. Absolute babies out here saving
Like,
the world.
He's the Avatar. He's the he's the name of Team Avatar, and literally he's the youngest kid on the block. So, yeah, I think even Toph's older than him.
Oh, you know what?
If I remember correctly.
Every time we bring up Toph, I'm like, oh, we haven't talked about Toph
We
enough.
talk about Toph.
Love
God,
Toph.
Toph is such a good character.
Second season shows up. Wasn't even an original character. Was supposed to be a guy.
Dude, really?
Yeah.
Love Toph.
I love Toph.
Yeah, she was She was like the character was written for a man, and then they juxtaposed it, and Jesse Flowers, Michaela Maroney came on, and they're like, done.
Awesome.
That's what's happened.
She's one of the best parts of the whole fucking show.
Because of like, I'm glad you brought this up because like this kind of goes into Susan's comment where he's like, okay, fine, I won't kill you, and he's about to firebend his like the back of his head, and he like learns Toph's training for like, okay, just remember like. You can feel vibrations in the ground, and that this cool graphic that comes up, and he's like, "Fine, I'm gonna just encase you in ground, and then take away your bending."
Oh yeah,
Beautiful shot.
Oh my
So
god.
You didn't
cool.
expect it. They didn't allude to it. It's just like, bam, bam, done. I love that shot. That was one of my favorite. It's ingrained in my head.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, I can even hear the sound design of that fucking shot right there.
Uh,
Oh my god.
definitely with someone like you learn. Sometimes you just have to like brute force stuff. Sometimes you just have to barrel through. We always talk about like, oh yeah, be flexible and all this stuff. It's like, no, sometimes you just gotta like knock that door down.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
And I think that's what's really wonderful about Toph is like she is herself.
Yeah.
Except for when she's like, with her parents, and that's
Yeah.
like a whole other trauma situation for Toph.
Yeah.
But like when she is herself, she is incredibly powerful. Like, and she does whatever she wants. She creates metal bending. What?
Yeah.
And just like I just loved the way her character is written. Just as somebody who will barrel through and succeed.
I have nothing to add. That's exactly it. I'm trying to think what else she does. I mean, she adds a group of, like, granted, she comes from, and she's like very highly educated. Comes from a well-to-do family. Like her dad looks like Nicolas Cage. Like, yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. Toph gives non-binary vibes.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, definitely.
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 For
yeah.
sure.
And that's the thing that, I enjoy about that character.
Yeah. I mean, there's that whole episode with Katara.
Oh, with her and Katara, like
Yes,
kind of.
Tales of Ba Sing Se episode. Yeah. And she like you see a part of her that she's like she does take things to heart. She just doesn't necessarily show it all the time. And she really appreciates that day. Plus it was a spa day. Who doesn't love a spa day?
Who doesn't love a spa day?
Yeah. I was actually just looking at my nails today. I'm like, I need a fucking manicure.
And you're like, it's Manny time.
It's mani petty time, man. No, it's combination zone at this point. God, we're way over the clock, but fuck it. The library, great episode.
Oh, that episode was cool.
Just really cool to see a bunch of like ancient library of all this, like from going back in the ages, and then it shows up again later. Zuko alone, where you see him get like accepted by the the Earth Kingdom family, and then rejected at the end. That part where you see like where he's walking along and there's like broken discs in the background is the same place that Avatar 1 has the battle later on.
Whoa.
They confirmed that, actually.
Wow.
They've confirmed that, and like so like that's canonically like the writing on this show is ridiculous. Talked about the Willing Rock, talked about the Firebending Masters, Sokka's master.
Oh, the sword.
Oh
guy.
my god, who ends up coming back as a White Lotus member?
White Lotus. Well, he
Yeah.
alludes to it the whole time. He's like, "Here's a pie show table."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh,
Usual.
that's a good impression.
Yeah.
That was spot on.
Was that same voice actor also The Rock? Like
No.
or the whatever the Boulder. I'm
So
sorry.
the Boulder was they were trying to get the Rock. The Rock couldn't make it. They got Mick Foley from WWE because one of the guys on, I think it was Brian, is a big WWE fan, and they couldn't get the Rock. They got Mick Foley. He was fucking great as the Boulder. The
Yeah.
Boulder doesn't like this. The Boulder will allow this.
I loved the Boulder.
Dude, Boulder-
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
But yeah, it's funny because like the guy, the T-1000 from Terminator 2 was the guy that voiced Master Piandao.
What?
So whenever I watch him, I was like, I think this is a good attack right here. I'm like, this is fucking Terminator, man. Fucking Terminator teaching you how to fight. This is awesome.
Wow.
Isn't it great?
That is great.
So cool.
I love that he just makes his fucking space sword. You finally get to see Sokka.
Oh, my space sword.
Who is like the reason they got any shit done in Team Avatar.
Literally the only reason they got shit done.
And the person who has honestly the quieter growth in the show,
Mhm.
because he starts out just being a chauvinistic asshole, and then he just like learns from every single person he meets. He
Mhm.
learns how to fight from the Kyoshi warriors. He wears their makeup. There's from Piandao. He learns from other characters that are eluding me right now. But he's just always learning and growing and being kind of a voice of mature reason in the group.
Mhm.
He's like, Katara, if we stop for everybody, we're never going to get this done.
Mm.
We have to be ruthless in this endeavor.
Mhm.
He's like, it breaks my heart too, but we have to do something.
Mhm.
Never great. So yeah, I love Sokka's master. That's a great episode, particularly because he's just so honest to the master. He's like, I lied to you from the start. I'm not from the Fire Nation. And I love how Piandao, he's like stuff is in his eyes. He's like, I'm a little old to be fighting the Avatar. And everyone's like, oh shit.
Oh.
Yeah, it was great. Apparently I found out that he had, it's been a while since I read this, but apparently he was a big general in the army. And then eventually he just was like, fuck that. And just left. Like they didn't officially discharge him, but they just didn't fuck with him after a while because he was so respected and so powerful as just like a not inventor that they just like left him and just like, yeah, you do your thing, that's fine.
That's cool.
It was really crazy. Yeah, I need to double check that, but I think that's what happened. Firebending Masters, because you get to see like that whole Zuko and Aang bonding. Cave of Two Lovers.
Oh my god, we love this episode.
Because you know, Sokka, the whole part of the story is not the journey. It's not the death. Fuck!
Dragon.
You know, Sokka, like the whole thing is about the journey, not the destination. And you know, because we love singing that song, Secret Tunnel.
Secret tunnel.
Secret Tunnel.
Secret tunnel.
Remember the words for the rest of the song. But it was funny.
We love it.
It was funny.
And it's a catchy song.
Who doesn't love it, right?
Who doesn't love the secret tunnel?
Yeah, it's great. And I love how Sokka just gets so pissed off. all the time.
Oh, that okay. And I'm remembering that episode.
And then finding out that the badger moles were the badger moles were the original airbenders. Or
Original
airbenders,
Earthbenders.
Out now.
Earthbenders. You see them open like the wall. And
Dude.
Yeah, which is so cool.
fucking baller. Loved it.
And I feel like that part, and with the dragons, with the firebending,
Yeah.
with the air bisons and the airbending, like this is like, it has a really animistic thread throughout the entire show that I really loved, and is very like,
Twee and La.
Yeah.
Being like the fish that,
yeah. That's honestly for me what like cemented my interest in the first season, because like I love animism. Like that's something I grew up with. That is something that exists in my life.
You're vegetarian.
Vegetarian person.
Yeah.
End of your culture.
End of my culture, yeah. Like, so it's just something that I don't get to see on screen often. And so when I do get to see it, I'm just like thrilled. Like, I feel like I first saw it in like Ghibli and like Princess Mononoke and stuff like that, which
good
you can
example.
definitely see like the inspiration of
They were huge fans.
of Miyazaki in this show.
They even said like there are some scenes that I don't know if they copied, but like highly influenced.
Yeah, like honestly, like that water monster situation was
Looks very Ghibli-like.
very much like
Yeah.
the forest spirit
Oh,
in
yeah.
Princess Mononoke, which is an awesome movie. Where was I going with this? Oh, I was going to the Swamp Benders.
It's a great one.
I love them.
That's a great episode. I forgot about that one.
I love the Swamp Benders.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I love about the Swamp Benders is because I feel like their cultural representation is a little bit more modern.
Yeah.
I feel like they are more like Bayou sort of
Yeah,
like,
they're like it was
imitation.
borderline like, okay, we're just throwing the southern trope here. Okay.
Yeah. Like, I mean, but like the Bayou has a specific cultural,
True.
like,
You got to see parts of like them talk about their Sokka and Katara's mother. You get to hear, they get to see a bunch of, and it's a place that shows up again later. So I love that for that. Swamp Benders were great.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think for me to think about also is like that gives a suggestion of migration.
Oh, yeah.
that the you have the water benders like in the north and the south. It's like there were people who migrated to go somewhere else,
And they lost connection after.
and they lost connection, and then created their own culture, which I
Like,
think is pretty cool.
The
That
three
is
of us have
cool.
talked a bunch of times. Like there's in the south of India, there's a lot of words that are very similar to Korean words. Like almost. I sent you a couple videos on that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of astounding. There's even some references that I don't know. I don't know the stories about it. I don't know literature about it, but there's some connections with even like supposedly like my culture coming all the way to South America.
Yeah.
I've heard rumors about it. I have nothing but like if you look at the languages, I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, this is a little too creepy to be similar.
Mm-hmm.
To be dissimilar, I mean.
Yeah.
And you forget sometimes we were very seafaring. Like a lot of cultures are very seafaring, and then you lose contact because you like it's fucking hard to go back.
It's hard to go back.
So like I'm just gonna stay here. And, like there's even certain indigenous tribes in America have Japanese heritage because they found similar parts of kidney disease, and it's only found, and even like certain parts of the language had Japanese markers in them, and it was like this is okay, island hopping. That's how they came to America.
And that's hella cool. Like it's just
Yeah.
like migration is just part of the human condition, and I think
Oh,
the show just shows that, like in
really
a more
well.
yeah, pretty well, because it's showing like there's like one way to do it, which is like Fire Nation scary stuff. There's
Right.
another way, like of
You hit it right on the
fucking-
head. I brought this up earlier in a different episode. History doesn't repeat itself. It has bars, and
Mm.
one of the hidden ways that humans interact with each other is not just through conquest; it's through trade.
Mhm.
Trade routes are like I've heard Swahili and Arabic. It's actually really easy to pick up Swahili because it's only like under 500 words, and it's a trade language.
That's
Right?
Interesting.
cool.
Yeah, you go to parts of Indonesia and stuff like that, and like a lot of cultures know about India or have like Indian like culture because of all the trade that happened there. I mean, hell, that's why the colonizers colonized India, because it was such a giant triangle in the sea, in this great ocean, and they were like, this is prime location, let's go and take it. But yeah, they're huge traders. That's how Korea and India probably had a lot of their trade, honestly, or like
That's cool.
cultural exchange. So
Yeah.
And there even is a Quechua word in English. Jerky is derived from charqui, which is dried meat.
oh,
Isn't that cool?
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so like the Inca live on in the English language as
In
well.
other ways, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I bring it back to Avatar for a moment?
Yes.
Totally can, man.
Can we talk about Dark Aang?
Dang.
Dang.
Can we talk about when Appa gets taken by the? You were just talking about
Comes
the
back to the
library.
Oh
And
yeah.
we should probably wrap after this. video.
Okay.
I just want to talk about how interesting that was. How
Yeah.
interesting it was to
His
see.
emotion come out.
I mean, in a
Yeah,
in
in a dang way.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, like he was
What do you
down
guys
to
think about
murder
that?
Yeah.
for Appa. I feel
Muzzled
like.
Appa. It's like, how dare you?
How dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a human being. You know, he's not just this kid. He's a kid who has emotions, and that's like, I met someone once, and they had lost their dog, and their mom had unfortunately like committed suicide, and so like that dog, and he was a wreck because that dog was the last part of his mom,
Mhm.
and I'm like, oh my god, man, I'm so sorry. He's like, yeah, I mean, I'll be fine, but like that was the last part of my mom I had with me.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's the last part of his life that he has with him.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine like what he was feeling with that.
Oh my
It's
god.
like, how dare you? Like, this not only is my childhood friend that I've had my entire life, but this is the last connection I have to my old life.
To my culture,
To his culture
Yes.
too.
Yeah,
to my people,
everything.
everything.
Mm.
It's all gone except for Appa.
Yeah, and luckily I got him back, so it's all good. Don't worry.
God.
Yeah.
Sweet Appa. Love Appa.
Also, Appa and Momo.
And
Oh,
Momo,
Momo, yeah.
yeah.
Oh my
Momo's
God.
Precious little angel.
Momo was just like showing up.
God, we could talk about Avatar forever.
It
All the things that we love about it.
We should probably wrap it because we're way past the hour.
That sounds like a good plan.
So we've pretty much hit all the points that I want. Any final things you want to say?
I'm stoked to talk about Korra.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
It's
stuff to
coming
talk
up.
about Korra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great show. Like,
Cool. Watch it.
yeah, watch it.
Watch the
all the
fuck out of
millennials
it.
basically have already watched it. Like, come on, we got something to talk about.
Hashtag
Yeah.
enough said. It's a great way to get into it. If you never watch anything animated again, watch this.
Yeah.
I will put that marker on there.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I feel like that's a solid marker.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Enough said.
Enough said.
Hey fan peeps, thanks for listening, and I'd love any feedback you have for me. Please follow the Facebook page, They Need a Hobby, and follow us everywhere, social media wise, under the handle @TNAHpod. That goes for Twitter and Instagram, and one of these days, I'll be super popular.